Rapzilla.com. In my mind, and I know we talked about this, I see Dream Junkies killing it. I see the labels. I see it super strong. I see you guys touring the East Coast. I see you guys touring the North. Been in Massachusetts 3 or 4 times. Nobody comes to Boston that much. You guys have multiple shows.
We love Boston. That whole area is dope. That whole region. They love us.
Yeah, and you guys kill it there. And so I think that the perception outside of maybe you guys, maybe a promoter such as myself, is that you guys aren't killing it. Is that maybe you guys are slow walking, maybe stuff is not clicking the way that it is. What do you say to all those guys out there who think the Dream Junkies aren't killing it right now?
It doesn't really matter what people think. I think for me, vision is important. Like, we don't do music for a specific niche. We're trying to build our own niche. So there's not a tribe that we're marketing to. And I think of most of what we've seen in our community in terms of like the Rapzilla Christian hip hop community is that there's a lot of riding the wave of a pre-designed tribe and niche. It goes all the way back to the Cross Movement days, then the Reach Records days, the Rapzilla, so on and so forth. So if you make music that's designed for those people, and I love those people, dude, more power to you. And you're good, like you're good at what you do, and you understand music and sonics and marketing. Like you can actually do well, right? And we see that like every year or two, an artist literally comes from nowhere and boom, pops, right? Like I'm a big fan of Jay Monty, and Jay Monty like is an example where dope artist, great visuals, great mixes, and he literally went from a couple hundred followers on Instagram to 8,000-9,000 within a matter of a year. It hasn't even been a year since the last record in 100 Bars came out. So I think that's the dope part about that is like we have the luxury to make music and get it in front of people. I think the flip side of that is that, right, to sustain that and ride that wave and say, okay, cool, we're going to keep making music for the same demographic because you're going to grow, you're going to evolve. So I'm okay with having smaller turnouts. I'm okay with selling less records because at the end of the day, I'm comfortable in my own skin. I know who I am. I know why I'm making music. I know who I'm making music for. I'm enjoying this journey. Like, I'm sincerely like happy. I get to do a lot of shows outside of the church, and I get to be the only representation that people get to see of a Christian for a lot of their experiences, and I'm very grateful for that. Amen. Would I love to do Catalyst Conference and big Christian festival music? Yeah, sure, I wouldn't mind it, but I'm not aspiring for that.
All right, so you talked about the Good Religion album. You mentioned it. I think I mentioned this when you guys were in Boston. Shoot Me comes on. I'm listening to Shoot Me like, oh, this song is dope. Belief goes in. I'm like, whoa, like he's going ham on his track. And then you come on and you spit. Again, I said the Americana verse was the best that I've heard. So before that, this Shoot Me verse, I was like,
that's a good verse.
What is going on with this dude right now?
Culture was roasting us. Not every single blog wants a quote from us like we some type of poster kids for Christian rappers coping with the toxic culture that was then created by the legalists. We leaving this behind so we can speak once to the hedonists and sinners of our time, which includes you and I.
You talked about the legacy left behind by the legalists. Can you talk a little bit about that, like what you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean specifically, and I don't have any gripe with these guys personally because I think they're personally good dudes, but the remnant, the era of the cross movement, hyper theology, very Calvinist movement in the Christian hip hop community pushed and kept a lot of people out that weren't a part of that mindset, and it's specifically people from the West Coast. Like if you look at Ton of Rats, Future Shock, The Breaks, right, Propaganda, Braille, right, we weren't really on that. Like, we weren't on that wave, and there was a lot of initially, like there was tension, and there was like, you know, a lot of like just backroom politics and stuff like that, where if you didn't fit the mold of how they wanted you to rap or what they wanted you to talk about, like it was a problem, you know. And it may have not even been those guys personally, but that tribe, like that crew that supported those dudes, like, so it was very just divided and divisive. And the first guys that were really on some like, yo, like we're not on that anymore was Shubaraka and DJ Official, who, rest in peace to DJ Official, and you know, prayers and love to his family. They started coming around through things like the Legacy Conference, coming around and hanging out with myself, with Propaganda, with Braille, and then it was just kind of like game was passed back and forth, and we built really good friendships. And so if you go back, you can look at all that, you know, when we did the Breaks and Shubaraka, Brilliant Realness, 2010, I think.
Amazing,
right? People were bucking out like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the Breaks collaborated with the Reach Records artists. Like that was like, we didn't do that, right? When we had R. Swift on the joint, like R. Swift was cross movement. I was like, oh my gosh, can't believe they did a song with R. Swift. Like that was like a big deal, and we would get lit up on Holy Culture and, you know, all these different message forums and like people would just bug out and lose their mind over just dumb stuff. Like, I feel like we go in these extremes. It's all about the cross all the time. And if you're not rapping the cross or John Calvin theology, then you're not a real Christian hip-hopper, right? And it is like, what? You know, and now, like, the pendulum swings the opposite extreme, and I want another tip, and it's like, if you look at what we've been doing, specifically King's Dream and the breaks, like, we've always been doing the same thing. The music just got better, and the platform is just gotten better and bigger. So I
think guys just haven't really realized how long, and I don't know if it's the East Coast mentality, maybe because I'm from the East Coast, but I still knew of you guys because you guys were doing like Rock the Bells, you know, opening up for like Wu-Tang and stuff like that. And I would see your name and I'd be like, whoa, that's dope. Like, I know I've heard these guys. And then I found out later that you were Christian, and it was amazing. And like you said, this is before 2010. This is like, you guys have been making music for so long. I look back at videos that are super old. I was going to pull some up, but I didn't want to embarrass you. But you guys have been killing it for super long. So kudos for your longevity.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it's a slow burn. If you're not following a formula, you're doing it your own way. It's a slow burn.
And so the biggest other line from Shoot Me is, like you said, people act like Lecrae was the first to do it. But when Show left earlier, it was for the same movement. So, you know, a lot of people know that Sho Baraka left Reach, and most of the people's conception was that he left because he wanted to do a different type of music that maybe didn't fit into the Reach, you know, parameters. So he had to leave in order to do that. And then it seemingly seemed like Lecrae came back and started doing that type of music.
I don't want to speak for Sho, but it was definitely like he didn't want to continue touring in those circuits. He didn't want to do that, and I think he was open and made statements and really, you know what I mean. And so then when Talented 10th came out, it was kind of like his manifesto.
It made sense.
I'm going to talk about more social issues. I'm not going to be as explicitly preachy and churchy in my music. And we were like, dope, like this is what we've been on, and we're grateful that you're on it. Like let's go. And then fast forward to, you know, Church Close 2, Gravity, Anomaly, Church Close 3, and they're talking about the same stuff. Just Sho did it first, and prior to Sho doing it, it was really
somebody's got to be the one that's
and so. But the funny thing is just like, yo, like Lecrae, like he's going to the world and like he literally came up with these ideas, and I'm not even saying I came up with these ideas or like this is Tunnel Rats, like this is Tunnel Rats Future Shock. This is late. This is mid '90s. This is LA Symphony. This is Pigeon John. These are guys that have consistently went out and toured clubs, played secular festivals, played these other events, and so this goes way back. And so I just think it's just interesting, and I get tired of kind of hearing it. And obviously, the person with the biggest platform is going to appear like they're the originator of everything.
Exactly. That's just how it works.
And so it is what it is. But I'm grateful for, you know, all the stuff that Reach is doing. I think what Lecrae is doing now is that now that he is a bona fide mainstream artist, that it's softening and preparing the palette of everybody else in that world. To hear something different and new, and I think we're benefiting from that because he went through that. He went through that first and blazed that trail. That we're all benefiting from that. So that's no shade on those guys. I got a lot of love for those guys. Ben Washer has always been extremely gracious and helpful to me personally in King's Dream Entertainment. Just willing to pick up the phone and if I got questions or whatever. They're genuinely good dudes.